Hey, welcome back, Roadrunners. The Lip Medallion. It's Friday before the big game. This is going to be our toughest contest of the year, our most important contest of the year. The reason why I say that is because we're straight up in conference. When you're in conference, conference games matter. This is all we care about, right? We know we don't have a shot at the national championship. We know even if we'd gone 12-0, we wouldn't be in the CFP. We know that, right? No one in our situation would be in that. Be invited at all, no matter how much the announcers are gushing over James Madison's start and how, they should be allowed to go to a bowl game. I just simply on Twitter ask, well, where was that energy when UTSA was 8-4 and 7-5 in our second and third year overall? See, it's kind of funny how that kind of narrative happens when it's the teams they want it to happen for, right? I just simply say, put in the record books, the fastest team to a bowl game is UTSA. 2 seasons, 3 seasons, we were there. We just weren't allowed to go. We weren't allowed to go. Well, guess what, James Madison? Take your punishment also. It's 1 season. That's it. 2 years. Well, 2 years, right? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Take your lump. Take your lumps. You're the ones who wanted to make the change. Otherwise, stay in FCS. And win the national championship of the FCS, though. But guess what? It won't be that way, and they probably will change the rules. And then everyone will talk about how great James Madison was and the record they set, right? But it won't be a proper record. And I'm betting on UTSA Twitter to drill that into everybody's mind. If that happens, you need to go on ESPN. You need to say, set the record book straight. NCAA, set the record book straight because we were ready. And make them go back. Records can be retroactively changed. Anyway, let's move on to this game. What's important about this game, both teams are 2-0 in conference, and this gives one team a leg up over the other, right? Towards the end of the season. What makes this a very special look-see is the fact that FAU is kind of similar to us other than the fact that they've played 2 P5 schools, right? We played Texas State and Army, and they played Clemson and Illinois, and they opened up with Ohio, right? So Clemson's not Clemson, but they're still better than Army, right? But they've had their guys. They've had their guys, right? Every game. Houston's better than Ohio. Houston's technically a P5. But we don't really look at them that way. Not yet, right? 1 season does not make you a true P5, in my opinion, because you're still getting the same recruits. The recruits aren't changing. Recruits didn't change for Houston just because they went to the Big 12. It wasn't like they just hauled in a top 10 recruiting class in the nation, right? They're probably very similar. I don't even need to look at it. I can tell you it's very similar. What they were doing anyway, right? Because they were one of the top G5s. If you're one of the top G5s and you're winning a lot of baseball games, my mind's on the Rangers and Astros, but you're winning a lot of football games, you're going to the BCS, you're still getting those players, right? It's just Cincinnati proved it, right? They made the CFP, but Cincinnati built up to it, and then went undefeated, and it helped, right? And the AAC last year was a better conference than the AAC is this year. I mean, you can't replace UCF, Cincinnati, Houston with who they replaced them with and expect that to be an uptick, especially when one of the teams is Rice. I'm going to get off that soapbox, but it drives me nuts. Rice brings nothing to college football. Zero. Absolutely zero. And we've got to start treating them like that. Same thing with the academies. They bring zero. Now, when they play each other, at the end of the year, Yeah, the Army Navy game, okay. But do you care when Army plays Air Force? Navy plays Air Force? Do you really care? Do you care what whoever Air Force is playing? No one cares. Otherwise, they'd be on Saturday TV all the time. Those three programs would, if enough people cared. They bring Yiddo. Right? That's how we have to look at it. So now let's look at some of the stats. Now this is the thing, total yards, 381. Would you say FAU played better defenses? Probably. Well, we've got 387. So kind of even there. Maybe a push because I think Texas State really brought it out against us. And that really was one of our lower output games, right? Well, so was Army. Leave the Army game out. Yards passing, 234 to their 242, 152 to their 139. So probably a better running team than they are, which is kind of surprising. This may come down to running the football. Yards allowed, this is where I think it's kind of, it's hard to read. We're about even. We're 406 to their 392. None of this is treated in their favor. They're at home. This will be only the second game that we're not favored, that we are the underdog. Only the second one. We're playing on the road. We're going to wear our orange jerseys, which I'm wearing right now. Got our white hats with the stripe, the new stripe down the middle. So what do I think? I think it's all about the running game and Frank making smart decisions. We're going to need Uncle Frank, straight up. But we're going to need Griffin, Barnes. Those guys are going to have to just have a game. They are. They're just going to have to just have the best game they've ever had. And if they do, then I'll change how I feel about this season. Now, frankly, you could probably hear it in my voice. I'm kind of upbeat sounding to you, and I should, because I am a little upbeat. There's a little optimism creeping in from my situation, from my viewpoint of what to expect. Don't be surprised. Looking at all these stats, don't be surprised if it's like 24-17. Don't be surprised if this turns into more of a defensive approach, because I'm willing to bet we lean heavier on our run game. And if we are running the ball, we're going to control that clock a little bit better. Let's hope that happens. We really want that to happen. And that'll allow Frank to use his arm. I don't think his wheels are there yet. He does look like the slowest guy on the field. Not the slowest guy on the field, but he's still shifty, but he doesn't look near as quick as he used to look, right? I just think all those injuries, all that time off, not being able to keep his legs in his shape as he's needed to, right? He's not in game shape, I guess is what I'm saying. And frankly, I don't know if he'll ever get there for us, right? What we could hope for is his final game when we go to a bowl game. If we go to a bowl game, we get about 3 weeks and he's able to just rest for a week, right? Let McCown get in there and get a lot of reps and just let him rest and let those legs just heal up. All those surgeries, man. We owe him a lot. We owe him a lot. We do. We do. The other thing we need to have happen is McEwen has to be uncoverable. Because you know they're going to roll coverage to Cephas big time. But if McEwen keeps stepping up and keeps doing his thing, man, I'm telling you, he makes Ogle Kellogg a better wide receiver. And then we've got Carpenter with his speed. I'm telling you, McEwen's the glue. McEwen, to me, is the glue for this team as far as he's the filler. He's the, what was that? Starch that you put in to make your clothes a little stiffer. Cornstarch you put in your, what is that? stuff you put in to fill up a soup or a gumbo, give it a little thickness to a gravy, right? He's that guy, right? You got all these different flavors. You got the beef, you got Josh Sheafus, right? He's the beef. You got Kellogg, he's the potatoes, right? But you need something to just keep it from just being watered down beef and potatoes, right? So you throw in a little seasoning here and there, and I think that's McEwen, right? He allows the peas and carrots to shine in Ogle, Kellogg, and Carpenter. He's got to have a big game. He's got to be the guy that secretly, when you look at it, he might be the second best stat-wise wide receiver, but he doesn't necessarily have the biggest catches, if that makes sense, because stats matter. Don't get me wrong. But if you see him have like maybe 6 catches for like 65 yards, but they're like 8 yards here, a 12-yard there. It might not be a first down conversion, or it's a first down play, and it doesn't really like change the vibe of it. But what it does do is it just keeps us on a drive. Whereas now when he's now running on a crucial 3rd and 8, and they roll coverage to him, all of a sudden Cephas is over there on the sideline by himself, right? Or Cardenas is all of a sudden able to run free and get himself a big pass play. Or they can't necessarily run stop, right? They can't run blitz if he's that effective. That's what I mean. It doesn't look like it's like, oh my God, that guy keeps making play after play after play. Like we see with Cephas, like we saw with Clark, like we saw with Franklin, right? He's just the guy who just makes catches. And at the end of the year, you kind of go, we notice his stats, but you kind of go, did he really play that well? It's that quiet stat, right? He's got to be the one. And I'm pointing him out. So keep an eye on him. Let's hope he's healthy. Let's hope he doesn't get hurt. Let's hope he eats his Wheaties in the morning. Let's hope beyond hope that I would love to see him have about 120 yards. I mean, he's done it before. He's at 100 yards before, right? But if he has that kind of yards, that means they're leaving him uncovered. And that's what I mean by quiet effective. Because when they come down and try to cover him, all of a sudden Cephas, Kellogg, Carpenter, it's one-on-one, right? So if we look at the leading stat leaders, right? So Cephas, 441 yards on 45 receptions, 6 TDs. Their leading receiver, Wester, 622 yards on 62 catches. So what? The same, right? 10 yards per catch, right? More TDs for Cephas. Barnes, 413 yards on 94 carries. Their guy, 442 yards on 81 carries. So a little bit better running the football. I haven't watched enough of their game, but I do know they wore out USF. And the USF defense held Bama, who's supposed to be good at running the football too. So we'll see, right? And passing, Frank missing some time. It still has 932 yards. Their guy has 902 yards, 97 completions, 88 for Frank. Frank has 7 TDs, 3 INTs. He has 5 TDs, 4 INTs. I think that's where we've got to come up big, is in the pass. I'm telling you, I'm just saying, we got to be able to cover somebody. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to look at the defense, right? So, stats, boom. Let's see what they have on their defense. Let's see where they get all their stops, right? So right now they have 14 sacks. After all those games, just 14 sacks. We have a lot more than that. And I'm trying to look. 1.5 defensive end, 2.5, 3. 3 sacks, 3.5 sacks from their defensive line, right? So if I go back to UTSA, and the rest of from their linebackers, so they use a lot of blitz. They might run a 3-4. I really don't know, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to, Henry's having a great season running the ball. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I'm just throwing that out there. 7.1 yards per carry. He's the lightning. And soften him up, and then boom, Henry just zigzag and boo, gone. Let's hope it happens. Let's see where we got our sacks at. Of course, Trey Moore has 7.5. That's huge. But we set him up. If you watch our defense, we do a lot of stunting and we do a lot of getting double teams to where he runs free in there and he makes them pay. So if we're looking at defensive line, 1, 2, 3, 3.5. I see 3.5 sacks for our defensive line. But we have 19 overall sacks overall. Let me see. I had to miss one. Evans, Bell, Booker Brown, 1.5. Yeah. But Robinson has 2.5 sacks himself, right? At linebacker. So, I mean, we're not getting anything from our cornerbacks. It doesn't look like. But Wisdom has 1 sack. And Danye has 1 sack. But he's a linebacker. But they're called hybrids, right? We list them as linebackers, but you'll watch them out past coverage, right? They've got their assignment, right? Who knows? Let's see what happens. I don't know. I don't know if I can call a win for the good guys. But you see, right now I'm trying to come up with something and I can't. My orange colored glasses, I wish I had some. I'm wearing them right now, right? It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say that this is an easy win for FAU, right? It's hard for me to say FAU wins this game. I'm going with the toss-up. I think this is a toss-up. And I'm trending towards, I know this might be a tough game, but I'm trending towards us. I'm trending towards the good guys in a toss-up. I'm calling it a toss-up. Okay, toss-up, good guys. The good guys wearing the orange and the white helmet and the white pants. That's a toss-up. I'm going with the good guys. Peace out, Roadrunners. I plan on live streaming the game since it's on the road. I'll just turn it on. I'll have my laptop on. If you want to join me, then join me, right? Birds up. Boo! 47-yard line.